So, according to the Pew Research Center, the average person in the US reads 12 books a year. Don't be average.
Be below average.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to episode 12 of Everyday Python Projects. In today's episode, we're going to build ourselves a bot that's going to make us just a little bit smarter by sending us random articles to read once every hour. This is going to combine two videos that I previously made. The first is episode number 9, where we learned to send ourselves emails if certain conditions were met, and episode 3, where we learned to speed read using the Wikipedia library. People don't seem to be reading as many physical books anymore. A lot of our time is spent parsing through pages and pages of text on a screen, so let's get with the times and build a modern tool. Alright, let's do it. Let's start by importing the libraries that we'll need. I found that the library Wikipedia API is more reliable with returning a Wikipedia article than the library Wikipedia. I've used the Wikipedia library to generate a random article, but when I used that library to get the page for that random article, I would occasionally get hit with a disambiguation error because there were too many terms similar to what was randomly generated. However, when I passed that random article into Wikipedia API, it's able to generate the contents of the page without fail, so I'll continue to use the latter. We need to initialize the Wikipedia API to our language of choice. In my case, it'll be English, and then we're going to clear the scheduler of any jobs so that we won't have any conflicting tasks. Then, we need to create a function that will pull a random article from Wikipedia, encode the message into an ASCII format, and then call our email handler to send us an email with a title of the Wikipedia article and its contents. We can grab the random article like so. Like I said before, I found Wikipedia API to be more reliable than just Wikipedia, but Wikipedia API doesn't have a method, as far as I know, to generate a random article just like we did, so I have to use the Wikipedia library to do it. The parameter 1 right here means that I'm generating one random article. You can increase it to generate more than one article, and it will return a list of all the article titles. Next, we'll have to encode our messages in order for it to comply with international standards. So the first international standard is to smash the like button. I looked it up. It's the law. So according to the Internet Engineering Task Force, RFC 6532, all electronic messages were originally limited to 7-bit ASCII, but the Multi-Purpose Internet Mail Extension, otherwise known as MIME, would be a very crappy MIME, added support for all 8-bit characters. Either way, current rules state that all of our messages have to be in ASCII format. And if you didn't understand anything I just said, it won't matter, because Python is going to throw us an error if the characters can't be encoded into ASCII. So there's 3 ways we can do this, and I think an example will help. If we look right here at example text, we can see that this A has an umlaut right above it. An umlaut is not ASCII compliant, and you're guaranteed to find Wikipedia articles with non-ASCII characters, so we need to correct this. Otherwise, our script will just crash and you won't get any emails. Method 1 transforms any non-ASCII characters into Unicode. You won't lose information, but you can see right here, it's a little hard to read this quickly since it interrupts our reading flow. Method 2 deletes any non-ASCII characters, so you can see here that there is no A anymore. However, this obviously causes us to lose information, and we won't realize if characters were deleted from the text. I personally like method 3 because it replaces the non-ASCII characters with a question mark. It's easier to read than method 1, but we're not blind to the fact that certain characters were changed. Finally, this piece right here, the reason we have to decode it into UTF-8 is because the formatting in Gmail will be lost if we send it in as a byte stream. By decoding it, we're converting it back into a string. If we were to copy and paste this and assign it to this variable test, we can see that test is indeed a string. Now, if we were to use method 3 and replace article with test, you can see that this A has been replaced with a question mark, but this B means that we have a byte stream. In order to convert this back into a string, that's where this decode UTF-8 comes in. So we have a string like so, and we can confirm this by checking its type. And we do have a string. So we're going to be doing the same thing with our encoded content. Now we have the title and contents of the randomly generated Wikipedia article. The last thing left to do is to construct the email handler and schedule this to run. If you want a more in-depth explanation as to what all of this means, I get deeper into it in episode 9, Tracking Prices Automatically, so definitely make sure to check that out at the top. Otherwise, this basically just reads 2 text files to get the email and password for my throwaway Gmail account. It creates the subject of the email, which will be the title of the article. Then it creates the actual message, which is the contents of the article. And finally, it creates a secure context so that we can send an email using Python's library smtplib. Then we just have to write the last 3 lines of code that will schedule the script to execute, and we'll be all done. So I've set this to run for every 10 seconds just for this example, but in practice you'll most likely set it to be running every hour or every couple hours. Okay, now we can test this out. Because I'm using Gmail, the first thing I have to do is to turn on less secure app access. And that can be accessed at this URL, myaccounts.google.com/lesssecureapps. Don't worry about the rest of this. Make sure this is turned on, otherwise we won't be able to access Gmail through Python. Now let's see if this works. So it should be coming in every 10 seconds. Okay, looks like we got our first run. El Amarillo. So it says time to read about, the title of the article, as well as the contents. So this one looks good so far. Let's see if we get a second one. Great, Nordica, the company. And this definitely looks like what we would get in Wikipedia with the proper formatting. Let's check for one more article. And we have Fifi, which looks like it's a language spoken in parts of Cameroon. So it looks like our script is actually working pretty successfully. So we can stop this. And if we wanted to run this once every hour, it's a pretty quick fix. Just change the 10 to a 1 and seconds to hours. Now there's one last thing to mention. Because our text is encoded in ASCII, you might find yourself in a situation like this. So here we have our normal text, and everything looks fine until we get to here. And now you see that all the formatting is completely different than what you would find in the actual Wikipedia article. Because of string formatting, articles with tables, chemical formulas, matrices, or anything similar to this will be distorted in the email body because we have to format the article completely in ASCII. That being said, this still works very well for almost every other type of article, so it's definitely something we should hold on to. There you go. Now you'll always be reminded to read throughout the day, and you'll be brushing up on a variety of topics. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.